Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. This is going to be a garden tour in Raleigh, North Carolina, Zone 7B. I ran into a landscaper several months back. I was on my bicycle, stopped and talked to him because I'll just stop and talk to random people. And he told me about this beautiful landscape that he works on in North Raleigh. And I said, well, I'd be interested. When it's at its peak sometime during the spring. He called me the other day. And now here I am. This place is really stunningly beautiful and super, super detailed. I'm going to start down at the street. There's very little lawn here, just a little strip that's along the road. The rest of it is tiered with stone walls throughout and just super, super detailed. I really think you guys will like this. So let's get started walking around. So here's a pan of the front right here. You can see these beautiful retaining walls. This is the only real piece of turf here, and there's a small piece on the other side of the driveway, but this is quite an entrance. This is pretty much the only sunny space that's here, so most of these are going to be sun-loving things out by the road. There's a dwarf loropetalum and a couple gold mound spirea. I love not only the stone walls, but the additional rocks that are placed around in this space. This Hollywood juniper that's been limbed up into a tree form right here. I'm hoping this will really show up. I put some photos of this on Instagram the other day, but that Hollywood juniper just makes a huge statement on the corner right there, and I just love the way it's limbed up. I don't know that the lighting is doing me a favor right now, but yeah, you can see it a little better right there. It's a really nice example of a Hollywood juniper. There's lots of ground cover roses out here, some ice plant. This contorted filbert is really nice. It's actually been planted a little too close to the road, so this one side has to kind of cut on quite a bit, so it's not in perfect shape, but it is just coming out for the spring. A super interesting plant. There's some nice cone-shaped boxwoods here. There's a dwarf butterfly bush. Those are definitely kaleidoscopilia right there. There's some Globosinana cryptomeria used as foundation plants there, and then this absolutely beautiful Camellia sasanqua that's been espaliered onto the side of the house. There's another one around the other side, and they're about to do another one up. I'll show you in just a minute. All these roses look really, really great. Plenty of sunlight out here for them. There's some dianthus, that blue right there. The other dwarf butterfly bush is starting to flower right there. It's a purple one, just starting to get some color on it. I'll step back here so you can see how beautiful this entrance is without getting run over by a car here. There's gold mound spirea there. That looks like a little princess spirea on the other side of the steps. These steps are great because this is a super, super steep driveway. This would have been hard to walk up and down just to get your mail. It's probably at least, it's probably 2 flights of stairs to get up to the stairs. These emerald arborvitae that are on the house right now are actually coming out soon, and they're going to do Camellia sasanquas like that in between the windows rather than blocking the windows like they currently are. But I'm going to stand back so you can get the full impact of this entry space. Right there. Okay, I'm going to swing around to the other side. Like I say, there's a little piece of lawn here. Bermuda grass is what this is. It's just greening back up for the summer. More roses here, and a ground cover yew right there, prostrate yew. That's a Globosa Nana cryptomeria. And some Japanese hollies right here of some kind, and some Mexican heather that's been planted, which of course will be colorful all summer once they get going. But I love how these rocks are just placed all over the place. And then here's a shot of the front foundation up here with some hollies, and there's a ground cover sedum right there that's probably will come down over that wall during the summertime. Another one of these Hollywood junipers on this corner that's been limbed up the same way for whatever reason. The other one is definitely more symmetrical. This one right here probably is coming out at some point. There are some gumpo azaleas right here. These are always late flowering. They're budded up right now, but those are pink gumpo azaleas. This little pad here, an entry. There's a giant crepe myrtle here. Let me step back and show you up into this this crepe myrtle where it gets enough sunlight out here. The bark on that one is beautiful. I like these little inlays on this sidewalk that takes you to the backyard space, and it's just like a fantasy land once you enter the gate going back here. This is probably a DeGroots arborvitae. Stays narrower than emerald. The neighbors have a nice landscape back here too, so it's nice when both are working on it. But here's the entryway into this back garden, and this is where I was standing when I started the video back there. We'll come around to this foundation. Here's a Pieris that has bloomed out, but the foliage is still looking beautiful on it. There's some Nandinas here. There's a curly leaf ligustrum right here that's in bloom. These are super interesting ligustrum. You see how contorted the leaves are on it. Oh, I just disturbed a bird that was in there. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, there's a row of yews along here. It might be, this might be Duke Gardens plum yews right here. It's actually what it looks like. And there's a daylilies here that will be a little while before they start blooming. Beautiful paper bush right there. Let me zoom out just a bit in this tighter space. And then this looks like autumn ferns right here. There's a few more of those curly leaf ligustrum that have been placed along this fence to try to create a screen. And then this retaining wall, this is really beautiful, that goes back here. There's a fountain back here, and it's really all you can hear is birds and the waterfall. We'll see the waterfall in just a minute. There's a salvia blooming here, and then right here is another espaliered camellia right here. It's just been trained onto this metal structure on the house. I highly recommend this. If you live in zone 7, 8, or 9, an espaliered camellia on the side of your house, it won't hurt your house. The roots are fine on the foundation, and you can really create some height without taking up a big footprint. Okay, up in here, I mean, there's just so many things to, it'd be hard to mention them all, honestly, but that red dianthus is beautiful. There's some gaillardia right there, that orange popping right there. There's some lamium right there, and some gold sedum. So lots of gold items added in here to, to brighten this dark, what would be a dark space. Let me pan you around to how wooded this actually is back here. This is definitely shade gardening, but these raised beds definitely help with that, to allow you to add some additional soil to it. There's lots of heuchera and heucherellas back here, gold ones, purple ones. Wouldn't even begin to know what varieties these are. There's so many varieties now. And there's some liriope here, and this is going to be an evergreen piece on this corner. I'm not a giant liriope fan, but that looks great. Just positioned the way it is up against these rocks. These are rhodias here. Nice collection of rhodias, and then there's cast iron plants. There's some purple oxalis in that space. But I also like all the garden art that she has added to this space. It really sets off the whole the whole space. That's a Shindo viburnum right there. And it'll get quite large, but they've kept it in that cone shape right there, keeping control of it. But it's a nice evergreen little backdrop to that space. There's a set of steps. There's a nice patio back here, and then there's a set of steps that lead you up to this fountain. This is what I was talking about. This is basically all you can hear back here. It just cuts out all the city noise. You just hear the birds in the background and this, and there's just all kinds of little, in every nook and cranny, there's an astilbe right there. Like I say, I couldn't name all the things if the video would just be ridiculously long. There's a super interesting nandina right here that has a really soft textured nandina. I think this is probably a soft touch holly right there in that space. Just a nice evergreen interest. And then there's a little path that leads you around, and there's, you know, basically carved out rooms back here. These are golden euonymus right there, which had, you know, brighten up this corner. There's a Camellia japonica in that corner that will bloom in the winter time. These are black dragon cryptomeria, and these can be shaped, and you know, you can do all kinds of funky things with black dragon cryptomeria. There's some caladiums that have gone into these pots right there, and there's some hydrangeas. Nice containers everywhere, just containers everywhere. This looks to be maybe soft caress Mahonia here. There's a little seating area with a fire pit and some seating back here. Another place to grow some vines. These look like maybe Carolina jasmine on there. And then coming back down this space, you've got I think that's Procumbens nana juniper right there. These little conifers, little dwarf conifers, are meant to set off this little town that's been built right here. Let's get in here close to this. This is quite a detail here. She used this de Groot's arborvitae right here too, and other little dwarf conifers, a little Japanese holly right there, and this dianthus looks like turf in front of it, and then the moss, and so many details. These little the gold or the variegated liriope looks great, but can you imagine how much detail is in this little town? Okay, all right, and keep moving back around. But so that ends up being a little room up there in the top that's kind of hidden away. It's a small lot. It's just like mine, about the same size as mine. There's some gardenias here, peonies. I don't know that there's, I mean, it looks like they did bloom, but there's probably not quite as much sun as peonies would like. The foliage looks beautiful though, on it for sure. There's a laurel of some sort there, and Camellia, that's a Camellia sasanqua. That's a fall blooming one, just like the ones that are spalliate onto the house. This Fatsia is really gorgeous right here. That's a great example, and just perfect half a day, you know, getting bright light into a space. This space over here, I think this is an ornamental blueberry, is what this is. That blue-green foliage on those is super, super striking. All the pieces back here are meant to look tropical. There's a Farfugium here, and the biggest leaf hosta you can find, and Akuba has large leaves. The hellebores back here, same thing. Everything here in this area is kind of meant to look, have a tropical look to it, and it looks great. This, I haven't pointed out this dwarf mondo grass in these paths. Definitely is a good for weed prevention. And this is probably Hicksii yew right there, or maybe it's just fat stygiate plum yew. That's probably what it is actually. There's a composting and a potting table back here. Again, it's another room cut out in the upper part of this space. There's a variegated azalea right here that's super striking. And look how bright this thing is in a dark, shady space. There were some ligustrum here that have been tree formed along this side over here, and another path that leads you back around. And I'll come back up that path I just came up. Again, there's more caladiums. These will be super bright. More rhodias. tucked in everywhere. And again, you just get so many little details with the containers. Here's a container on top of a container, so the weeping item here, and the begonias up on top there. Here's another Mahonia in a container. There's some variegated Solomon seal, some other azaleas, various azaleas back here, and more autumn ferns. And there's some more variegated Solomon seal. Here's another one of these upright plum yews, and it's a nice hosta collection here. And then right here is there's some edibles blended in to this space. Lots of color, but then there's basil. Definitely smart enough to keep the mint out of the ground and keep it in containers, otherwise it will take over. Looks like some parsley on the corner right there, and there's some rosemary. So this is the herb garden mixed with ornamental pieces as well. Really nice Japanese maple, super contorted one. You know, I'm all about Japanese maples. The more contorted and funky, the better. She's got a container. This is Obsession Nandina right here. I've shown this one on the channel several times. That one's in a container. There's a lemon lime Nandina. This is a great plant. You know, it says full sun or part shade on the tag, but in this shady space back here, that little pop of new color, you know, stands out. There's a black dragon cryptomeria, and you can see back across this patio over there to where I started here in the backyard, how everything is kind of interconnected. And I'll take you down this side right here. There's a rhododendron right here, and it's actually stretching out. It's almost too much shade for a rhododendron in this space. There's another one right there. Again, these curly leaf ligustrum are great for super narrow spaces. You won't get two of them to grow the same though. This is not a plant that you're going to get. I mean, there's one, you know, every one of these looks slightly different, and that's kind of normal. You put these coleus along the fence here, and there's drip irrigation in these. The drip irrigation is running along the fence. There's drippers in the pots. And then along the side here, this is a mostly rock in this space, but I mean, look at all the art pieces. There's a gardenia right there in a container. I think that might be radicans meant to weep over the container. This is an Itea, it's a native shrub to the southeast. This is an encore variety here, and I'm not sure which one it is. I probably should know that, but these are encore azaleas growing on this side of the house. There's some Osmanthus fragrans. This may not be quite enough light for these, but they can probably be pruned occasionally and made to be fuller. And one more azalea in this space, and then this goes back along the side to where I started, down in the front. Right there, there's a very large holly growing right there, and some really nice loropetalum on this side, and a southern magnolia right there. I don't know that one's getting quite enough light, but the plant looks fantastic, but it's trying to grow right up under this oak that's right here. I'm going to turn this off and go back up and show you a couple little nooks and crannies I missed. So I showed this weeping Japanese maple here, and there are actually three more back here. There's a kind of a gold or a green foliage one right here. It has really fine texture. There's one right there, a larger growing one. You may not be able to see, this lighting is not good. Okay, there it is. Right there, that goes above that little garden that I started off in. And then you saw this one when I was talking about this tropical space, this purple foliage one there. And there's a dogwood there. There were some larger pines back here that were removed, and then trees were put back in their place that were just, you know, fit the space better. So there's just as many trees, but they're not all, they don't all have to be, you know, 60 feet tall or however big these are. Coming back up, you see how nice this path is. I love how different types of stone are integrated, concrete, flagstone, just all kinds of different hardscape items are used. There's lighting all over this backyard. Not only did I showed you the drip irrigation, but there's also lighting, and then there's uplighting on the Japanese maple. There's uplighting on the big maple there, and throughout this garden you'll see little lighting. So this, I need to come back over, the next time I shoot this garden, and I may come back over here later in the summer and see what it looks like at a different time of year, and shoot it in the evening when the lights are all on everything. I think that would be super, super interesting. So I hope you get some idea of how beautiful this space is, and how well thought out it is, and how it's divided into rooms, how little lawn is being used. The lawn down there is nice, and it's effective, and it's been between a road and a sidewalk where it belongs, so people can get by there and use the sidewalk appropriately. But up here in the shadier spaces, rather than fight it, fight for the lawn constantly against these trees, it's been converted into little rooms. This is definitely a 4-season space. It's definitely going to have all summer long interest. I only probably just mentioned a third of the plants, maybe even less. There's a ton of perennials in this space behind me and plugged in all throughout that will be blooming in the summer, and even lots of things that are picked to go into the fall. And then of course some of these shrubs are like the camellia that's here that I showed you, the espalier on the wall, that'll be blooming in the fall and winter. Beautiful, beautiful space. So thank you very much for watching. I'll come back around to this one later in the year and show it to you at a different season.